Back on the show, the Darce Knight, Kyle Daukaus, who will be taking on Eryk Anders next at UFC Orlando, December the 3rd. Kyle, how are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, always a pleasure. And I just want to start with, why it has been so long since we, last saw you fight. We're talking all the way back in June, so it'll be 6 months by the time you step back into the cage. What's the reason for the layoff?
Yeah, so after after my last fight, the knee that he landed in the fight broke a couple sections of my face. Um, after the fight, obviously, I went right to the hospital, had a MRI, CAT scan, all that stuff, all that good stuff. The MRI showed that I had, I think it was the MRI showed that I had um, two fractures in my cheek, and then I had a fracture underneath my eyeball, which is like I guess like an orbital fracture, you can call it. So I flew home on Sunday morning. That was kind of a big concern for us. Was like flying home. I wasn't sure like how my face would take to like the air pressure and stuff, but everything was good. Um, I had to wait. They told me to wait no more than 2 weeks. So I went home on Sunday. Went to the doctor's on like Monday or Tuesday on at in Jefferson Hospital in Philadelphia, and sorry, my phone's all jacked up. And went there, met a doctor. The year prior, I had surgery on my eyelid because I had a bad staph infection. So I went to that doctor first, and then he suggested I go to another doctor. So I went to him, Dr. Heffelfinger, who is a Jefferson Hospital doctor. He actually did, I think it was a Joel Embiid's surgery on his face as well. So it was a guy that I was confident in, like he knew what to do. I was confident in him to make sure everything was good to go. I had the surgery. They put in 3 plates in my face. I have pretty much just like a couple covering my cheekbone. And then I have one underneath my eyeball, just kind of keeping my eye raised up because my eye was like kind of sinking a little bit. The one under my eyeball is like a mesh that kind of molded to the bone itself. So over time, obviously within the 12 weeks that I recovered from, it kind of created like a good barrier to keep my eye still up. So yeah, that was pretty much it. I broke my face, had a couple plates put in, and here we are.
We spoke before the fight with Roman Dolidze, and I know you
Yeah,
were, feeling really confident going into that fight. You felt like you're going to be able to kind of dictate where the fight took place, and you'd be able to get the better of him in that fight.
yeah.
What can you point towards as to the, I guess, a lesson learned, or what happened in there that maybe you could have not done, and next time if you get a rematch, you do something different.
I guess just kind of making sure I'm not, you know, being too reactive to what he was doing. I guess. Um, After that first headbutt that we had, I was like, all right, here we go, like another thing to kind of mark down in the notebook. But I feel like I should have took a little bit more time. But he caught me with a good shot, dropped me, and just kind of pretty much controlled me from there. But again, just making sure I was focused in. I kind of wasn't focused in all night, all week. Like I just felt off. But my hats off to Roman for doing what he needed to do. We got in there, got the job done. But yeah, I mean, the only thing I can do is just control what I can control, and that night didn't go my way. So I can only control kind of the way I'm reacting now and the way I reacted to the fight, and trying to move forward from there.
He clearly has a lot of power. I mean, we saw it in his most recent fight, a big
Yeah,
win over Phil Hawes. How impressive was that to you?
yeah, I think it was really good. Obviously, he's very dangerous on the ground. He's very good at leg locks and stuff like that, which we saw with Hawes. He got stuck in that weird leg lock that like bent his knee back and stuff like that. But yeah, the dude's got power clearly. He's a very big middleweight for his size. Um, yeah, very very big, very physically strong, and it's showing in his last two fights.
I've asked you this before, I believe, but some guys, they want to get in there and as quickly as possible and avenge a loss that they've had. Is that something where your mindset is right now? Like, do you believe that you want to get back in there in your next 2, 3, 4 fights and avenge that loss, or do you not really care?
I'm not big on like making sure I get a rematch or I have to go out there and beat that guy. Obviously, losing sucks. You obviously want to get the better of your opponent though, every time you fight them. Um, I would It would be stupid of me to say no that I don't want the rematches of my losses because obviously I do. But then again, I know there's enough guys in the division for me to get to where I want to be, which is the belt, obviously. So If the rematches that I have to have do happen, then they happen. But if not, it's not something that I need to worry about or whatnot. I'm sure down the line I'll have maybe 1 or 2 rematches with guys that I fight or whatnot. But it's not something that I'm pushing for, or that like I was like, man, like I need to get this back. I need to. I told I told my coaches after the fight, I was like, I didn't even feel like I was in the back of the venue waiting for the ambulance. I was in the back. I was like, I don't even feel like I fought. I just feel like I went out there, just got knee in the face, and that was it. Like it didn't feel like a fight. So like to me, it wasn't as hard of a loss as once prior. The Hawes fight that I had, the Allen fight that I had, those really like mentally just like were tough on me. This one, I kind of just like woke up the next day, realized I had to get surgery, and just moved on. Like it wasn't anything that was crazy or too like depressing or anything like that. I never went through anything like that like I did prior to my other ones. So no, I mean it's not something that I'm pushing for or anything like that. If it happens, it happens. But no.
With all the medical stuff that you had to go through after the loss to Roman, how long were you not able to train for?
So surgery happened, I think it was like a week or so after my fight, and then I was in recovery for so it's funny, before the surgery I was seeing the doctor and he's like checking out my face and stuff like that. He had different scans that he wanted me to do as well. He said, so how long do you think you're going to be out for this? And I said, probably a year. I said, I don't think I'll be anywhere near coming back this year or anywhere near coming back within the next 8 to 9 months or whatever. He goes, nah, within 8 to 12 weeks you'll be good. You should be good to take a punch. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, yeah. He was like, you should be good. He was like, I know what I'm doing and whatnot, and I'm confident in you going back out there. And I was like, all right, cool. So I actually took 12 weeks off. So I took 12 weeks, no training whatsoever, no nothing. I just kind of rode the bike in my basement and went and taught class. That was about it. But no actual contact or rolling or anything like that. And then I took it slow coming back into it, obviously. I kind of focused on like making sure that I can roll first, making sure like getting caught in different positions and getting caught in like headlocks and chokes and stuff like that. Everything was good, like because of like pressure and stuff in my face. And I wasn't too like knowledgeable on what like I could do and couldn't do with my face and whatnot with being choked and stuff. So I dealt with all that. Everything was good. First day sparring, like I punched with a good shot. Didn't really hurt that bad. I was like, all right, like we're back into it. So ever since then, it was just back to the usual grind.
How difficult was that 12-week period to not be able to do everything that you normally would do?
Yeah, it sucks, man. It's the absolute worst. I mean, obviously it's good in a way because it lets my body recover. It lets me, mentally get into the states I need to be in, mentally, take a look at what I did wrong in my prior fights, what I did wrong in that fight, and what I did wrong in my wins that I even had. Just seeing things, making sure that I'm doing the extra work that I needed to do now that I wasn't doing prior. So it's a good thing and a bad thing, I think.
You didn't pack on the pounds like Patty Pimblett, did you?
No, I mean I got pretty heavy. I got around 230 almost. But as of right now, I'm good to go. So yeah, everything's good.
Okay, very good. Well, I see you have the Philadelphia Eagles shirt on right there. So we got to
Yeah,
dive in and talk some Philly sports right now.
yeah.
Man, the Eagles look so darn good. I mean, just their team is just so well rounded. Jalen Hurts is the man. But first, before we dive into that, how disappointing was it for the Phillies' loss in the World Series to the Astros?
I mean, obviously it sucks to lose it to the Astros because they kind of cheated years prior, but that's always something that's going to come up for them if whether they win or they lost. That's always kind of something that was going to pop up. I think it was just good for Philly to be in the World Series and kind of make it to where they needed to be because they were kind of on the cusp of even making the playoffs prior to getting in. I remember they had the seven games behind. They needed to win 7 games in order to get into the playoffs, and they finally did. They got into the wild card series, and I mean it was good. I was very supportive once they got into the playoffs and whatnot. I would lie to say that I'm like a huge fan. Any team that's in the playoffs, I'm going to jump on the bandwagon and whatnot. But I've always been a good like a diehard Eagles fan. But yeah, I mean, it's always good to have your team in the World Series and whatnot in the championship. As far as the Eagles go, they obviously look good, but again, they have a very easy schedule, and come the playoff time, it's gonna be tough to get these wins, I think.
Who do you think are going to be the toughest challenges for the Eagles in the playoffs?
Probably the Giants. If we play the Giants in game one, I think it'll be rough. I think in the first, yeah, I think it'll be rough. But I mean, hopefully you obviously want to go for the undefeated season. But I just don't want the guys to get too soft and being confident and get too cocky and stuff.
Have you been to an Eagles game yet this year?
No, not this year. No, I have not. I was at about 4 or 5 Phillies games, but as far as this year, I haven't been to an Eagles game because I've been in camp. So
okay. Did you go to a Phillies playoff game?
I went to the wild card series for them to get into the NLCS. I went to that game, so that was wild too.
Yeah, very cool. What is it like to be there in Philadelphia when they're hosting a home game? I mean, I know the Philly fans, you guys are pretty much very similar to us in Boston, you know, very passionate about your team. What is it like?
It's wild. It's crazy. I mean, the fans are nuts and the atmosphere is amazing. It's super loud. It never dies down. Like I heard the commentators from the World Series saying the biggest waste of money is in Philly is the seats, the money they spend on the seats, because the fans stand the whole time. And it's true. They stand the whole time, they hang out, they celebrate, we're drinking, everybody's having a good time. And it's something it's good to experience. But again, they're Philly fans, so they're very, very rowdy and very wild. So if you say one wrong thing, it's going to be downhill for you.
Well, I don't think you have anything to worry about. If anybody saw you in the stands, I think they'd keep their mouth shut, or at least, you know, if they follow MMA, they know better than to say.
Yeah, right.
Well, you know, the Phillies, they'll probably be back next year, so I'm sure you'll be back, you know, seeing some games. But the Eagles right now, we'll just put all the attention on them, because the Sixers, I'm not quite sure what to think with the whole James Harden situation. But I'll digress.
I don't know. Yeah, it's always hit or miss with Philly. One year we're good, one year we're terrible. So I'll be very surprised if the Phillies even make the playoffs next year. But yeah, hopefully the Sixers do good this year as well.
All right. Well, hey, this weekend, UFC 281 is pretty big card. I want to get a couple fight picks from you. Israel Adesanya, Alex Pereira. It's your weight class, the middleweight division, and it's for the title. So who do you see winning this one?
It's tough. I think it's tough. I don't think Adesanya has the ground game to take Pereira down and control him or anything like that. So obviously it'll be a stand-up fight, I think. But as far as MMA and a fan of MMA, I don't want Pereira to win just because he's literally like 3 fights into the UFC and he wins the belt. It's kind of a joke to the MMA if he wins, like in my opinion. It will be good for obviously Izzy to win because he's been a champ for a while and he's very good, and obviously he's undefeated at middleweight. I'm pushing for Izzy to win just based off of the fact that Pereira is only 3 fights into the UFC and he's already got a title shot, and it'll just kind of look bad on all the other MMA guys if he comes in here and wins and then is the champ.
Mm-hmm. I think Israel's going to win. I mean, don't you believe that? I mean, kickboxing is, I mean, granted, there's obviously a lot of similarities to MMA, but it's not MMA. There's many more disciplines that you have to utilize. Do you feel like this is just going to be a stand-up kickboxing bout, or do you feel like Adesanya is going to implement maybe something that we don't normally see out of his style?
No, I think it'll be a kickboxing fight. I don't think he's not one to really push the pace or be somebody that's going to be, you know, very pressure forward. You know, he's a striker. He's very seems like he's more of a counter striker than he is, you know, aggressive wise. And I think Pereira is a counter striker too. So it might be just like a dud fight where they're just jabbing each other and kicking each other the whole time. But I really don't see Adesanya shooting for a single leg or anything like that. Maybe a little bit of clinch work against the cage, but I really don't think Adesanya has what it takes to take him down and kind of control him on the ground. I wouldn't be surprised if Pereira kind of uses the clinch and tries to take him down off the clinch. Because Pereira has a very good, you know, striking background. They both do. So they're both very comfortable with the clinch and whatnot. But yeah, it could either be fireworks or it's going to be a dud.
All right. Well, I can't wait to watch it. Now, Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler, and then the Cookie Monster, Carla Esparza, taking on Weili Zhang. Who do you think wins those 2 fights?
I think Weili wins. Obviously, I don't really think, striking-wise, I don't really think Carla has much for her. Not taking anything away from her. You know, she was a champ before. But Weili is just so dominant, and she was dominant against Joanna. As far as Poirier and Chandler, I'm a huge fan of Poirier. I always have been. I remember watching his little documentary that he had made a while back before I even like I think it was before I even started fighting. Like I watched what was it called? Fight Lore, I think it was called, or Fight or something. And I remember watching that, and I've always been a fan since then. I think he'll get it done just based off of the fact of the mentality that Chandler kind of has. As soon as he got to the UFC, he's like, yeah, fights and losses count, but it's more of them remembering you. And that's, I mean, yeah, but you want to get the wins as well. So you don't want to just go in there and just go crazy and try to, knock somebody out, and be a berserker the whole time. You obviously have to be calm and collected, and I think Poirier has a favor in that.
Okay, I can see what you're saying there. Well,
Yeah.
regardless, another really intriguing bout right there. It's a great card at Madison Square Garden. Now, your brother, Chris Daukaus,
Mm.
he's got a big fight around the corner too. December 10th against
Yep.
Rosenstrike. That's at UFC 282. That's Prochaska and Glover Teixeira too. How is he looking in camp thus far? And how good is it that it's kind of aligned where he fights a week after you?
Yeah, it's good. We did this actually. We fought back-to-back weeks when he fought Shamil and I fought Holland. He fought the week before me, so we were in Vegas for 2 weeks. But yeah, it's always good to have us together in camp because we're always kind of there when we need to be. Sorry, my dogs are being crazy right now.
That's all right.
And yeah, it's always good just to have us together in camp and just making each other accountable. I think it's best when we train together, like when we train our whole training camp together. I think that's when we kind of peak best because it's always, a battle in the gym. Even though he's a heavyweight and whatnot, I still like to get in there and kind of get my shots in that I can get on him. And he does the same to me. It's very back and forth. Not one isn't very dominant over the other. And that's what makes us better, I think, is that we can always kind of, he can get me one day, I can get him the next day, and that kind of keeps us kind of on the up and up. But yeah, it's good because he'll have 2 weeks, like 2 weeks to kind of prep his body and stuff that he needs to be for any like injuries or anything like that, anything nagging that he's had. And the same thing for me. We kind of calm down about 2 weeks out from each fight and just dial in on what we need to do and get the job done. But yeah, he's looking very good in the gym. I'm feeling good, and it's going to be a good back-to-back weeks for us.
How do you see that fight with Rosenstrike finishing? Like, what's the best course to victory for your brother Chris?
Obviously, it would be nice to knock him out. But Rosenstrike's a very good striker, so we can't really dwell on making he can't go in there and be like, all right, I'm gonna try to knock this dude out. You know what I mean? He has to go in there and mix it up. I think Rosenstrike is expecting him to take him down. We've been working, a lot of wrestling, a lot of clinch, a lot of striking as well, making sure that we're countering and doing the right things striking wise that he needs to do. It would be stupid of me to say that my brother's going to go in there and just take him down and finish the fight. My brother's striking is good with anybody that's there. So he's going to get his hand raised, whether he needs to take him down and wrestle him, put him against the cage, or whether he can just strike with him the whole time. I don't really think Rosenstrike has anything too special. He's got very, very good like counter hooks, stuff like that. But again, it's nothing that we haven't seen before.
Okay, well, that's another fight that I'm really looking forward to. Banger in the heavyweight division. Let's transition to UFC Orlando, December the 3rd. I'm actually going to be in Florida at that time. I'm hoping to make it there to the fights. We'll see what happens right there. But really interesting that Kevin Holland is the headliner taking on Stephen Thompson. Do you think that if you run into him, there's going to be any words back and forth, or do you expect it to be pretty copacetic?
No, we saw each other in Austin when we fought on the same card at the it was a little bit of an awkward interaction that we had. I was getting off the elevator. He put his fist up to kind of give me a fist bump, said what's up, and I kind of just ignored him and walked off because I was dehydrated, and I was like, dude, like I just want to get back to my room and get my drinks in and eat. And I was like, my bad, dude, like I'll fist bump you next time I see it. But no, it's I think it's more the fans that try to hype it all up and whatnot. Obviously he moved down to 170 and he's doing great down there. So it's always good to see somebody, doing good in another division. If he was doing good in my division, it would be something different, I think. But yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Well, one thing I wanted to ask, both you and Eryk is, when you're getting ready to go in there for an opponent with this sport as crazy as it is, and the injuries that happen, I mean, weight cutting issues, when you look at the card as a whole and you see another middleweight bout on that card, like Brunson and Hermansson's on that card, are you and your team, are you prepping, or at least having that in the back of your mind that, okay, well, if something happens to my opponent and his opponent, we've seen it before, that, maybe I need to at least prep a little bit for someone else that's on the card. Does that ever happen in camp nowadays?
For me, no, because I think if that fight falls, if one of those guys in Brunson or who's he fighting?
Hermanson.
Hermanson, yeah. I think if one of those guys drop out, I doubt they're gonna call me up and be like, "Yo, dude, like, you want to fight?" I'm like, it would be odd of me to take the fight, just based off of like where I am in my career and whatnot. I mean, obviously, I think I have the confidence to fight anybody, but I'm not. I haven't looked at the card and been like, oh, there's like it was different when I fought in Austin because Hawes was fighting Duran and Marquez, who I was scheduled to fight, was fighting Rodriguez, who is the big heavyweight or big middleweight too now. So I had an eye on that happening, just in case anything had happened and like and whatnot. But no, and I think Anders really hasn't had anything like any injuries or any like weight cutting issues or anything. I haven't had any weight cutting issues or I've really never pulled out of an injury or anything like that. So I'm confident that he's going to show up. If those guys one of those other guys falls out, I would throw my name into the basket just in case, but I doubt it would be. They probably give it to Anders over me.
Okay, but as far as just like from a coaching game planning, point of view, like, is
Yeah.
that something that your team has talked about? Like, is that ever a discussion that's in camp? Like you said in Austin, when you were getting ready to go in there and have that fight, was that a discussion that went on with your coaching staff?
No. I mean, it wasn't like something that we would game plan or anything like that for those guys. I have to be focused on who I'm fighting at the time. And as long as I'm focused and at the peak of my performances that I need to be at, then anybody that I can fill in with or anybody that else needs to be, like if I need to fill in for anybody else, then I'm confident that I can do that. So, but no, I mean, as far as like game planning and stuff like that, my coaches and I are solely focused on Anders. If those fights happen or fall out, then it happens. But as of right now, no.
Okay, fair enough. I just figured
Yeah.
I'd ask. I haven't
Yeah.
really asked anybody that before, and it just seems like nowadays you just never really know what this was crazy sport what can
Yeah,
happen.
that's true.
Now, Eryk, he's on a two-fight skid, Kyle. Jun Young Park, Andre Muniz. He's been a veteran. He's been around for a little while now. He's got a lot of power. When you look at his skill set and how it matches up with you, how do you see this fight playing out?
Obviously, I'm very confident in my ability to go out there and get things done. I think this fight plays, into my favor more than his. Obviously, the guy Anders has a ton of experience, and I have a ton of respect for that. This guy's fought, Machida, Thiago Santos, like you said, Andre Muniz. He's fought these guys that are top guys, and I mean he main evented against Machida. So that's obviously it would be stupid of me to go in there and not respect this man. I have respect for every fighter that I fight. But come when I step foot in the cage, kind of all the respect goes out the window, and I'm just trying to go in there and get the finish. But yeah, I'm sorry, I just went off and forget half the question. So
No,
I think
okay.
the fight. No, I'm sorry. I think the fight does play in my favor. I am confident in my ability. I've recently been working with an Italian kickboxer by the name of Jordan Valdenocci. He's a very, very, very well-rounded kickboxer, very dominant southpaw. He works with Alexa Grasso as well. So he is in Italy right now. He was here in Philly for I think the month of August. He was here, and I got a lot of working with him, a lot of pad work in, and the guy has showed me things that I've like never even thought of thinking of when striking, and he's changed my game so much right now. He actually sends me like stuff through like a WhatsApp and whatnot. I send him videos of me sparring, so he's been seeing me sparring. He's been sending me over drills to do and whatnot. So my confidence in my striking is going up, and I plan on showing that again this fight, that I can stand and that I'm not just a jiu-jitsu guy and a jiu-jitsu black belt. And I think Eryk has to be worried about that. We saw he kind of struggled with Roundtree when Roundtree was very good with the striking and whatnot. And he struggled in the ground game against Andre Muniz. So, I think people think that that Anders' ground game is kind of his, weakest spot. But I'm going to take full advantage of the striking and show that, I'm both dominant in striking and grappling as well.
Do you feel like, when you just watch tape on him, that you're going to be able to exploit him maybe on the ground, which is historically speaking your bread and butter?
I mean, that would be ideal, right? It would be ideal for me to go out there, take him down, and submit him as quickly as possible. But it is MMA, and the fights can go anywhere that they can go. I didn't expect to go out there and get me in the face last fight. So I don't expect him to go in there this fight and easily take him down and submit him. If it happens, it happens. But I'm solely confident in my striking to stand with him. And if he wants to take it to the ground, we can more than likely take it to the ground. If he wants to clinch, I'll clinch. And if he wants to strike, I'll strike. So,
How many fights do you have left on your deal?
one. This is my last one.
This is your
This
last
is my last one. So I have to go out there, make a very, very dominant performance and make sure that I get this next contract signed with them. Yeah. So it's something I've been dealing with for since I lost that last fight. I was like, all right, I have one more fight on my contract, so I don't expect them to kind of give me like a gimme fight or anything like that. They gave me Anders. This is probably the biggest name that I fought opposed to Holland. The guy has a lot of experience and whatnot. It would be stupid of me to be confident to go in there and obviously I'm confident in myself, but it would be stupid of me to be too cocky in myself and say this is going to be an easy fight. It's by no means an easy fight. No fight at all is an easy fight, but I have to go in there and make it look easy so that I can get this contract and keep my job pretty much.
Do you feel more pressure because this is the last fight in your deal?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it would be stupid of me to say no. I've talked about it with my family multiple times. I've talked about it with my wife multiple times, my brother multiple times. You're not really guaranteed the next fight. You're not really guaranteed the next contract or whatnot, but I have to go out there and make sure that I prove that I can stay here and just be confident in myself and show that, I'm here to stay and that I'm here to be a name and to make a statement. So I have to go out there December 3rd, make it a statement and just make sure that I can get another contract.
Always great talking to you, Kyle. Again, Kyle Daukaus meets Eryk Anders December the 3rd at UFC Orlando. Before we do sign off, I want to give you the floor. Tell people where they can follow you on social media. If you have anyone to thank, anything to plug, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter and Instagram. It's just Kyle_Daukaus. I'm very thankful for all my guys and my training partners and whatnot. Fuel Hunt's a sponsor that I have that I've been working with for a while. They have a clothing line and whatnot. We have rash guards through them, through the Blue Collar Brawlers branding line with them. We have rash guards, t-shirts, and whatnot, so you can go check their stuff out. And I thank you, for interviewing me, let me get my voice out there, and just always thankful.